This show is exceptional with how it presents trauma in such a realistic way. I can honestly say I've never seen an anime deal with topics such as self-harm to this degree in such realism that it comes across as someone who understands why a character like Rika would even want to cut herself. And the fact that they went to such a direction that really symbolizes what this show wants to be, that as supernatural as some of these scenes may appear to be, at the end of the day, it's crystal clear to me at least that this show's aiming to show four characters hopefully overcome their trauma and live life not held down by the past and can press on towards a brighter future. And I've said it for many reviews now, I don't think the idea of reviving your friend is going to happen. I think it's more of symbolizing like overcoming your past. But the thing that I really like about this episode, above honestly seeing probably one of the best directed, if not the best directed scenes I've seen in media for self-harm and why a character would even want to do it, it really does put into perspective that the characters that we are seeing through these teenage set of eyes aren't always as they appear to be. I don't want to rehash a lot of what I said in previous reviews. We have, over the course of many weeks, discussed, is the teacher, Mr. Sawaki, even a creepy guy? Or are we seeing it through Ai's perspective because that's just how she wants to perceive him? If you want more topics along that, you can watch last week's review where I go in depth about that. But in this episode, you can look at the case of Rika's mother. When we first get introduced to her, she seems like a deadbeat drunk mom who would rather give her daughter some money to go buy herself her own present, and she seems like a pretty scummy person who whores her way throughout life. But by the end of the episode, we realize that she's actually a very lonely person who's been left and feels abandoned, and honestly is filling her life with whatever meaningless substance or person that will accompany her. And she really does care for her daughter, but she feels abandoned because the original father is nowhere to be seen. We start the episode off thinking she's a deadbeat because that's, yes, the directing makes it look like she is a drunk and a horrible person. But just because someone's an alcoholic doesn't mean they're a bad person. What led them to be an alcoholic? Is it just because who they are, or did something in life cause them to be like that? And it's not like she's beating Rika or anything like that. She is doing her damnedest, but she is very lonely. And by the end of the episode, Rika is sitting there with her, eating the cake that was clearly made for her. And it's just really nice to see a scene where she's like, yeah, someday I will leave you, but today's not that day. We go from seeing her as a disgusting, pathetic alcoholic in the first scene to seeing her as a depressing alcoholic in the last scene, but one who maybe can get the help she needs. This show is clearly painting the adults and the people who have wronged them in a very negative light from their point of view, but as the other character have stated, from obviously the niece of Mr. Sawaki saying, my uncle's not like that, he would never touch a kid, to even all of Rika's friends saying, yeah, she is your mother, but even if she has wronged you, you shouldn't talk like this. While you naturally want to push back saying, you don't see how shitty she is behind closed doors, the viewers also didn't realize what happened in her life to make her lead a life of whoring and alcoholism, all things considered. This is a show that doesn't want you to have tunnel vision. This is not a show that wants you to say, this character evil, this character amazing. It wants you to say, humanity is full of flaws. From substance abuse, to self-harm, to bullying, to all these mature topics. While we might have this flashy magical world where we have magical weapons, we're fighting traumas that are kind of these disgusting monstrosities, it all relates to real-world issues. And I know a lot of people have their theories set in stone. They say, this character's going to turn out this way. But if you set your mind to that degree, I think you're going to be led to disappointment if anything doesn't go your way. For me, I'm watching a story, seeing how it goes. I have my ideas for sure, but I also recognize they could be completely wrong, and theories that I've read online or something I haven't even seen speculated could be the solution. This is simply a show that I have one real expectation for. These characters overcoming their trauma, and if something happens to a character like Rika and they end up dead trying to overcome it, their death will hopefully serve a purpose to propel others forward. But honestly, at this point in time, if anyone was going to die in this show in terms of the main four, I would say this would have been the episode to do so. So the fact that Rika actually overcame it, it says to me that this won't be a show that's going to move you emotionally by having a death. It's going to move you emotionally by seeing characters overcome their trauma and accept the things that have happened to them that is negative. And I actually seen some interesting speculation about why I wanted to go back to school after last week's episode. And if we do remember, and it got pointed out, I don't take credit for this, there's been many people who have brought this up. They said the idea that she actually brought the device from the kind of like egg world into reality. So that device allows you to see the dead, supposedly. So is she going back to school to hopefully see the ghost of her dead friend? It's a pretty good theory, I have to say, and would make total sense on why she spontaneously said, you know what, I want to go back to school. But then again, there could be something we don't see coming. In terms of Rika's self-harm scene, though, this is one of, if not the best pieces of media that have depicted a scene of someone cutting themselves. She is someone who's not doing it to kill herself, she's doing it to feel something. She comes home, seeing her mother work at the bar, and she feels nothing. She's sitting there with her pet turtle on her lap, and she's just wanting to feel something. And we go back and forth between the reality scene, which is just normal everyday life, to her fighting and someone who's basically been joined into a cult to kill themselves, which unfortunately actually happens in the real world, just not as much as you might realize anymore. And the fact that she almost gave into it, and the idea that this turtle views her as a mother, which is something that the anime laid out, that once the DNA kind of like breeding happens, whatever this creature sees will kind of perceive you as being their parent. A child doesn't want to see their mother or their father hurt. They want to protect them, and the fact that it came to her rescue, which then realized that maybe she should come to her own mother's rescue. It doesn't change the fact that she's had a shitty upbringing, but at the same time, should she really blame her when she's suffering probably more than I am in this case? And it's a really nice scene that's not one of those like, oh, I forgive all the shitty things that's happened in my life, but I also realize that I've been kind of shitty myself and haven't, maybe seen things from your point of view. Rather, I've been beating you over the head, who's my father? When really she's probably not telling you that answer because your father's a really shitty person and you don't want to get hurt the same way I have. You still have a bright future. I love how the show really messes with perspective, and without a doubt is one of the best anime I have ever seen. At this point in time, I would be shocked if by episode 12, the credits roll, if I don't say this is in my top 10 anime. I'm gonna be honest, this show is leading up to that potential exceptionally well, and just the casual remarks like having Neru say like she's never known her parents, which is kind of putting into perspective why a child is literally leading a company by her age. There's still so much to learn, so much to say, but Rika really stole the spotlight in an episode that I thought I would because she went back to school, but everyone pretty much avoided her, which kind of makes sense given the fact that she originally was really bullied at her school. Suicide happens, she doesn't come to school for a while. Naturally, I would say people probably would avoid her rather than going back to just making a mockery of her discolored eyes and things like that. I really like this show. I think it brought up a lot of interesting ideas, and the idea of self-harm and how they're not overplaying it to the fact that it makes it feel like a mockery or someone who doesn't understand why someone might go that direction. It feels like someone who understands what pain and suffering is and probably sat down and talked to people about a lot of these themes that they personally can't relate to but wanted to depict in an anime in a respectful and tasteful way. This was without a doubt the best episode in my opinion. It is hands down a slam dunk 10 out of 10. And I know the show can even one-up it in the next 5 episodes. I know it can. Let me know your thoughts and feelings down below. What did you think of this very emotionally heavy episode and how it really does play with your perspective on the adults, making you think one thing, but then when you see it from another perspective, you realize there's always more to meet Hsieh. Let me know your feelings down below. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, share your support, and hit that subscribe button if you have been new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.